Good to see y'all. We're going to give everybody just a second to get in here and join us. We're really excited to have one of our favorite chefs of all time. I may have said that a couple of times about a couple of different people, but Chef Dwayne Ingraham has been truly a dear friend. He's been, he came up through the ranks in Oxford, Mississippi. I started hearing his name from a lot of different people, and he came to Swedish Chefs and did a dessert that blew everybody's doors off and won that, and has came back about 4 years in a row to that. And we've just really enjoyed getting to know Dwayne, and the more we've gotten to know Dwayne, the more we've realized how important Dwayne believes ingredients are, and how important that is to know where your foods comes from. And Dwayne has been a huge advocate for the farms and producers that make his desserts better by starting with better ingredients. So Dwayne, welcome to the Zoom, welcome to the Facebook.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's good to get cooking with you tonight. And I don't know for sure if we're in full screen or if we're in individual screens, because I'm starting to get my screen is starting to get, we're full. Okay. All right. That's working, because I see all of y'all, which is great. I love that. I'm seeing some old friends, some new friends. Gloria's been here from, we met her virtually over the pandemic with her cooking. We were on their podcast. So it's great to see everybody. Leslie Wagner from the Southern Peanut Growers is here too. So I want to thank all of y'all for jumping in, and hopefully you'll have fun. Dwayne is he's a culinary rock star. I've already given him away all the introduction he needs, but Dwayne, what are we doing tonight, man?
Well, we're going to make a couple things. I think that make for perfect little treats around the holiday season, and some of my absolute favorites. One is going to be peanut butter rolled truffles, and I should just kind of a little fun way just to kind of dress those up a little bit and just make them look I would say aesthetically pleasing, so they can match the beautiful taste that comes from it, as well as just peanut butter fudge. And I was really excited to kind of bring this to the table. This reminds me of whenever I grew up as a kid. We would go to New Orleans to the Riverwalk, and we would go watch the Fudge show. And they had the big kettle copper pots and the marble slab out front, and these guys would actually put on the show every hour or so as they was making the fudge, and they would sing and they would toss the fudge in the air and it would spin down the sugar. And so that's a fond memory that I have from when I was younger, and I try my best to always try to find a memory to connect with the dishes, and then of course as a kid loving peanut butter so much, and even so much today as an adult. So I thought these would be some great flavors to play with today.
That's awesome. Well, we're excited to get started. I know some of y'all are cooking along, and if you've got a question, you can throw it in the chat box, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of time at the end for everybody to show us how yours turned out. So we're excited about getting rolling here.
Well, awesome. Well, if we're ready to get started, we will get moving. Just for those who are participating along at home, we're going to start first with making the ganache base for the peanut butter truffle. And then we will go into making the actual fudge. And then while all of those things are setting, we'll melt our little coating chocolate right quick. And then we'll kind of show what the finished product looks like. So we'll start with the peanut butter truffle. This recipe is really kind of dear to me. It was one of the first truffles that I ever learned how to make truffle fillings. When I got to Vegas, I'm working with my mentor, Chef Jackie. We was making individual bonbons for service. We would give them out as parting gifts with the receipts, tickets at the end of every meal. And this is one of the first ganaches that she showed me how to do. Of course, we did them inside of molded candies there, but I think it's also a fun way just to kind of do something fun at home, and I think it makes for a really good treat. So the ganache is pretty much basically, it's really simple. It goes together very quickly. I already kind of have most of my ingredients scaled out here for everything. And basically we're going to start with our pot here. Let me make sure that my cassette burner gets nice and going. All right, give me 1 second. And I'm gonna grab a lighter. There we go. Now we got some fire. All right. So in this container here, as you guys can see, it's basically the cream and it's the corn syrup. The corn syrup helps as an inverted sugar to try and keep the crystallization process from happening while the truffles are being formed. So that way your filling stays nice and smooth and soft. So this is going to go into the pot here. And then we're going to add that special ingredient, the peanut butter. We want to go ahead on and get that poured into it so that way that flavor can infuse inside the milk and cream and it melts down and everything's going to get nice and smooth. And then we're going to just simply pour it over our chocolate and we're going to just stir everything together until it's a nice smooth paste. All right, so this doesn't take too long of a process. You definitely want to keep that peanut butter moving on the inside of the spot because if it sets too still to the heat source, it will burn easily. So you want to make sure that you're constantly kind of stirring it in. That also helps to break that peanut butter up. The peanut butter and the cream doesn't have to be completely homogenized because as you pour it over the chocolate, it will take care of that. But you want to get any big lumps kind of broken up. And I'll show you kind of what we're looking like at the end.
Dwayne, one of the first things I learned in kitchens when I was doing Eat Jackson was this French word called mise en place. Or maybe, is that two French words, Dwayne?
Or I think technically it might be three French words, right? Mise en place, but
okay, there you go.
Yes, that's a great point.
And I noticed you to do your recipe, you have everything already kind of sectioned out and ready to just grab and dump and dump and dump. Why do you do that?
Well, because just like in that quick moment while we was talking, see that cream is already bubbling and we're ready to get this hot liquid over this chocolate because we need it to melt itself down. And so if we don't have everything already in its place, that's what mise en place means, so we're in its place, then you kind of lose valuable time and heat source sometimes, and that can definitely kind of make things a little bit more difficult on yourself unnecessarily. So let's just actually move that out the way. And so now we're gonna literally just take this mixture, and then so that was poured over the chocolate I already had out in the bowl, right? That I believe the guy provided the recipe for you guys, so you should have all those measurements there. And now we're gonna just stir this until it gets all nice and smooth.
All right, so Dwayne, just making sure. So in the bowl right now, you've got peanut butter, cream, corn syrup, and you dumped that on top of the chocolate.
That is correct.
So you just heated that up, and now you're using the heat that you just created inside the pot, pouring that over, and that's tempering your chocolate down, right?
That is correct.
Right.
It's just melting it on down. I wouldn't say that we're necessarily tempering it, right? Because we're not controlling that heat, that temperature to get like if you was actually trying to temper the chocolate into a sense of using it for decorations or for coating wise. But right, but basically yes, though, right? We're just basically taking the heat from the cream and from from the peanut butter that's heated up, and we're forming our ganache here, because this is going to become our dinner. So just kind of want to make sure everything's.
There we go, man. That's looking good. Hold that bowl up to the second to that second camera for a second, Dwayne, right in front of the burner. Let me see if I can show everybody. Yeah, just let me, don't burn yourself because I see your
my flame's still on. Yeah, there so we just want that ganache to be nice and melted. Basically just trying to make sure that none of the chocolate pieces are still whole. And eventually we're gonna just set this to the side. We're gonna let it set, because this is all the filling takes right there, right? So that's going to be the base parts of our truffle. That's what the filling is going to be on the inside. So now that that's all melted up, I'm going to just take this and set this to the side. All right, because what's going to happen here eventually is that you'll get a piece of product once it's cooled, because now what you want to do once it's all melted, you're going to just sit. I like to sit mine in the fridge for a couple hours or so, just so that way it can actually firm up in time, firm up. And then you're going to get an end product that's pliable, because you need to be able to roll it, but it'll hold itself together. And
so you put that in the fridge for, would you say 4 or 5 hours?
I would say just honestly for a couple hours, right? I mean, depending on, if your fridge is nice and cold, it kept at a pretty low temperature, then it's going to, in a matter, once it cools down past starts to hit somewhere around 27 degrees Celsius or so, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, that translates to about 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't quote me on that. But about 27 degrees Celsius, you get it start to actually firm up and set. And then you'll get yourself a nice pliable paste that's kind of like this. So that way we can roll balls from it later. All right. So, and what I like to do in the meantime from that, so I just pinch off a little bit, right? Take it from your hand and just roll yourself out a nice ball. I have myself a sheet tray here, and we're gonna set these onto the sheet tray. And then once we got a couple of those, I would then stick this back into the fridge or either the freezer for about 15 minutes or so, just to firm up, so that way it makes it easy dipping later. Okay, but that's the process to get the filling made. Then I'll show you how we're actually gonna coat those here in just a bit. All right.
Anybody have any questions about that process? I know Dwayne moves at lightning speed when he's got a lot to cook here. So
any questions so far?
all right, I think I don't see any. I don't see any hand raised. I know some of y'all are cooking along, so if you want to show us what you've got going on in your kitchen, feel free to do that. We'd love to see that. So somebody asked, what's your favorite brand of chocolate? That's a great question.
So from the store, I like to use the Ghirardelli. It's still, it's close enough to what we use inside the main kitchen, this couverture, chocolate. So it's going to hold up very well. I find it to be very comparable to kind of the restaurant style quality chocolate that we get inside the actual restaurant. So the Ghirardelli brand is the one that I like the most off the shelf. And then I am a huge fan of Jif peanut butter. So that's the peanut butter brand that I use.
I have nothing bad to say about Ghirardelli. You can ask my Kate will tell you that when she tries to surprise me, she'll bring me some Ghirardellis. But I'm not using it to cook with.
just a little snack, right?
Exactly. Jen and Lucy asked, how long in the freezer? I think that was just to firm it up. So a couple hours, he said, depending on how cold your fridge was.
Right. The main base, a couple hours, it should get to that point, I would think. And of course, as with everything, surface area helps us speed things up. If you want to speed that process up, instead of leaving that ganache inside a bowl, you can lay it out flat in like a baking dish, or like a sheet pan. Just something, of course, with a side, because while it's still liquid form, it will run, but something to keep it held up. But that will, of course, the thinner it is, the faster it will cool, right? So, that's just kind of how that science works. All right. So next, we're going to move on to the peanut butter fudge. We'll get this going here. So got my pot here. Once again, got the stove up. We're going to go ahead and dump the sugar in. All right. Then inside this container here, I have the heavy cream and I have the evaporated milk. So we're going to put that in. And then we have all of the fun stuff here. We have honey in here. We have molasses in here and a little bit of corn syrup. All of these agents, once again, acts as inverted sugar, so they help with the crystallization process, so that the granular pieces inside, and then we use some honey and molasses as well to kind of highlight and enhance that flavor of the peanut butter that's going to go in last. So what you're going to do now is just kind of stir it up, because you want this mixture to get up to a wet sand consistency. You don't want to have any dry pieces of sugar left in your mixture. So
what consistency did you
stirring that together?
What consistency did you just say?
We call it wet sand, so that way, so if you think about like kind of on the beach when that water kind of rises up on tide and that sand is it's wet and it's compact, not necessarily, dripping ooey gooey, but it's kind of got that look that it's nice and moist, for lack of a better word.
I like it.
Just kind of, that could stay right there, right? So try your best to kind of, as you're scraping this down or you're stirring this up, if you can help to keep any crystal granules from on the side of your pot, that's, that helps. But the good thing about us using the honey, the corn syrup, and the molasses, that even if you happen to get some sugar on the side, it won't really cause you too much of a problem, because those inverted sugars once again help that crystallization process. Normally, if you were just doing straight sugar and water, you would want to take a damp pastry brush and some water and dap down the side, so that way all of those sugar granules actually get wet. Because if you have a couple dry pieces and they get mixed inside with the mixture, without any type of invert sugar in it to kind of control that crystallization, it'll then cause it to crystallize later on. It's almost the same process that we use when we were trying to forcefully do it with candy and nuts. I don't know, I think the last show that we did last year, I candied some nuts, and we actually purposely wanted to cause that crystallization process. But in this case, we don't want that. So do that. So once that mixture is in there, that's the start of our base here. Now we just have to let this go. We're going to cook this to the stage of what we call firm ball stage in the sugar staging cooking process, meaning that if you took the sugar out and put it into an ice cold glass of water, it would form a firm ball, right? So it's a little bit past that soft ball stage as we used to do, like whenever making meringues. So this is going to help hold that shape that we know as fudge.
And what temperature does that relate to, to get the firm ball?
Yep, that happens at 244 degrees Fahrenheit. So, and as you notice, we're going to cook this mixture to 243 to allow for the cook over process time, because even though we're going to turn off this flame from this pot, the heat is going to be going so much, it's still going to carry on a couple more of those degrees. So we're going to turn it off, the heat source, at 243 and allow it to just naturally get to that next stage of 244.
Okay, 244.
Yeah. So I just put my thermometer in here. You can use the old-fashioned candy thermometer if you like. I like this one because it beeps at me and lets me know whenever I'm there. And if I'm actually in the kitchen doing work, I don't have to stand next to the pot to kind of wait on it. I can just kind of listen for the sound. So that's set and that's going. So while we kind of wait on that process, does anybody have any questions in the meantime?
Let me pull up my questions here. All right, so Jen and Lucy asked what ingredients are supposed to be in there at this time. So yeah, run through that slowly. You said
yeah. At this stage, you have the sugar, the evaporated milk, the heavy cream, the honey, the molasses, and the corn syrup. So what you should still have, go ahead.
So pretty much a lot of different sweet things and then some cream.
Correct. So what you should still have to the side right now should be your salt, your peanut butter, and your marshmallow cream. Those are the things that that's gonna help to change the texture, to help it give us that fudge-like texture later on. If the peanut butter was in here cooking to that high temperature up front, it would burn and it would give off a pretty awful flavor. So we don't want that to happen.
Fantastic. And guys, just so you know, so Dwayne is now recently the executive pastry chef at Odette in Florence, Alabama. And it's a cute little town. It's a great place to go visit. And I know Dwayne would love to see all of y'all come try some of his dessert specials. And who knows what else is going out of that kitchen, but I guarantee it's great. The executive chef there, Josh Quick, has been to several of our chef camps, and Odette has done one of our Eat Y'all dinners. They've been a real supporter of the farming and producing community from day one, and because of that, they're able to just roll out some tremendous food because they start with incredible ingredients. So we're excited to see Dwayne land there, and we're hoping to get up there to see him ourselves. And there's a ton of great little bed and breakfasts and things. This is not sponsored by the Florence Chamber of Commerce or anything, but it's a tremendous little cute town. We did a company retreat there a couple of years ago and stayed in a little kind of Airbnb for a few nights and worked and went to Odette several times and loved it so much.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I came down through here. I had been to Florence a couple of times doing some of the events here, like Shindig back in the day. But I was just so busy that I didn't have a chance to actually really stop and open my eyes, right, and look around. So once moving here, I was really impressed. It kind of gives a good balance of small town, kind of small town USA living at the same time, with some conveniences of living, closer towards a big city. And I kind of like it because it's also kind of centralized too. Like you could easily get to Nashville if you wanted, or to Birmingham, or to Huntsville, or to Memphis. So it's kind of got a good flow about it.
And Maria just asked in the chat, it's called Odette in Florence, Alabama. So up there near where Muscle Shoals have the Swampers, it's right up in that area. if you know anything about the Sweet Home Alabama song. Odette in Florence, Alabama. Dwayne, did I hear a timer go off?
That is correct. My timer just went off. That's it. So we have reached that cooking stage that we want to be at. What I just set on the burner here is just a double boiler. I'm just trying to melt down the coating chocolate that we're going to need to do the truffle bases later. So forgive me for my multitasking there. But now that we have this hot mixture the way it is, this is when we're going to actually add in that peanut butter and salt. And also the other good part about adding this at this stage too, it helps to stop that cooking process so it doesn't just keep going and going past where we don't want it to be at. And then we're also going to add in the marshmallow cream or fluff. And now we're going to just stir this until everything melts here and it gets nice and opaque, kind of I feel like an opaque look to it because you can see how dark it was before. And once all this kind of gets in, it's going to kind of cream it up a little bit and just give a little bit of a lighter color on it. And
that texture,
also,
the texture was called a firm ball. Is that what you said?
That is correct. That is the stage, the cooking stage of the sugar process. It's called firm ball.
Firm ball and 244, Adam White. Anybody else hungry? I may have had supper, but still thinking about food at this point.
I had a little light dinner tonight, so that way I wouldn't get sleepy on you guys. All right. So perfect. And the most beautiful part, I think, of this whole process is the aroma you get when that peanut butter hits that hot sugar, and you can just smell it just all kind of coming back at you. All right. So that's what we're looking for. So that looks nice and creamy. All right. There's no lumps or anything like that left. It's got that pretty kind of opaque-ish kind of peanut butter color to it. And then from here, we're going to just pour it into our prepared pan. I should have mentioned that up front. That's my fault. Once again, I already had that prepared. But basically, I have a little baking dish here. I've lined it with some parchment paper, and I sprayed it out pretty well, with some pan spray. And then we're going to just pour this in here to set.
So you got it lined with, that's parchment paper, right?
Yes, sir.
I learned one time that parchment paper and wax paper are not the same thing.
They are not. They are very different things.
That was about 12 years ago. The house probably still smells like it a little bit.
And you'll notice too how quickly this one starts to set. You can already see kind of the texture here where it's already kind of pouring down. So you want to kind of get this in here pretty quickly, or you'll have different textures on top of your. I'm gonna just give this a quick stir.
Hey, show that texture up to that main camera real quick if you can.
I surely will. All right. Yeah, it's just that quick too. You can already see it's starting to form that nice, pretty skin on top. So I'm not going to move it too many more times, but you can look around. You can see how it's already, like I can touch it and nothing is sticking to my finger. That lets us know right there we've hit those proper stages. So when it's cooled down here, we'll have something that we can easily unmold and then cut into the side portions. So this is, once again, you just kind of sit this down. I would say that this is probably within 30 to 45 minutes, just out at room temperature on the counter. It'll probably be firm enough for you to actually remove it out the pan and actually cut up and slice.
So is there any benefit or is it bad to like put that on a pan of ice or something to try to speed it up? Or is that a no?
Nope, that's not bad at all. You can definitely do that. Once again, you can stick it, what I would think, I wouldn't consider necessarily sticking it into like a fridge per se, because what you don't want is for the condensation in the air to sweat and then that water to get on top, because that can mess with your sugar work that you just did. But as for like on the ice pan, or if you kind of monitor it very closely, maybe like do it in, I would say 5-minute increments, put it into the fridge, make sure you take it out before everything around it starts to sweat and kind of, get moisture on it. Or if you want to put a parchment right on top of it, that way the skin itself is completely sealed, then you can stick it into your fridge. That way, if any moisture condensation does happen, it'll fall on the parchment paper, not actually inside the product.
Excellent. That's a good tip, because sometimes I try to, I want to rush to the next part and cool things down or speed them up, and so.
All right.
Got to watch that condensation.
Perfect. So at this point, I'll show you kind of what you would end up with here. Once again, I have a finished piece.
Oh, look at that.
And so that's kind of what you end up with, all right? And so, of course, this is one strip left from the pan that I prepared before, and I already have it kind of marked in little spots as where I'm going to cut them at, right, to make the squares. But let's see here. All right, so 1 second, Mr. Andy. I forgot my knife here. All right. I don't know how much of this you can see, but it's, even though it's going to this firmness, this is what we mean by that firm ball stage. And basically what that means is that it's still pliable, right? But it's holding inside of a firm block. But you'll notice when you get ready to cut it, it's really hardly no pressure at all, right? It just slices right on through.
Now, did you already trim the edges, or did it come out of the pan that neat?
So if you're, I had to trim my edges because my parchment job is not the best. It got some little frilly, so I cut those edges clean. But basically it will, if you have straight sides, it will come out the pan that straight.
Looks really, really good.
So then basically you end up with a nice little square pieces that look just like this.
Wow. So start to finish, that's a 20-minute. Even getting things out of the cabinet to make that, right, Dwayne?
Yeah, I would say that the actual time that it takes to actually get it to that point of going into the pan is maybe 20 minutes or so, depending on how quickly you scale things out. So, and then the longest part, honestly, just waiting for it to firm up enough for you to be able to remove it from the pan. Like I said, that usually takes somewhere about 30 to 45 minutes for it to be cool enough for you to, and make sure the center is all the way set and firm. But that's it. After that, it's ready to cut and it's ready to serve.
That's tremendous. That is tremendous.
Dwayne, how many does that serve?
So from this one pan at the size that I cut them, which is a little bit closer, somewhere around 1.5 inches by 1.5, that pan made 4, 8, 12, let's count them. So it's 5, 10, actually it made 15 portions.
Awesome.
And that's, like I said, that's a pretty big size, because as you eat it, you'll notice it's a pretty rich product, so you may decide you want to cut those smaller if you would like to, just so that we're doing more like one bite or something like that, because it's definitely a rich flavor, so I don't think you would want to sit down and eat 2 of those in one time. Hey, I'm not here to judge, but it would definitely be a palate over.
I don't believe that. I think you're definitely going to want 2 of those, but
all righty. So the last stage here is going to be us preparing dipping our truffles. So I'll kind of show you what that process looks like. All right, so it's got this little container here. I'm going to pour these in. These ones that I just prepared here, because I don't have a fridge underneath me, will not come out just as smooth as you'll see what the finished product looks like, because I'm not able to freeze mine here. So they're still kind of in that soft stage. but at least you'll get a little idea of kind of what that dipping process looks like and kind of just some of the little simple tapping technique you want to do in order to get the excess off. And then I'll show you just kind of a little fun garnish to kind of go on top of it using the same chocolate that we have there.
Can I use white chocolate also?
You could use white chocolate, absolutely, especially if you want to contrast the color. I think that's a wonderful option.
Yeah, that's a good little creative hack there to kind of mix it up. I think you should do two batches, one with white chocolate, one with dark chocolate. And Dwayne, we were, this obviously is a peanut focused night with the peanut butter. I want to remind folks that are here, we did a podcast taking a chef from Atlanta down to a peanut farm kind of south of Atlanta, about probably an hour and a half, and recorded a podcast live on the farm, went out into the peanut fields. Really the week they were supposed to harvest, it was a little wet, so we got to hear about some of the intricacies of how it goes from a field to a jar and to your grocery store. And so y'all want to check that out. It's on the Eat Y'all podcast. You can search that up. It's the last episode was how does peanut butter get to the jar?
And if I'm not mistaken as well, isn't most of the peanut butter that we buy off the shelf from the Southern peanut growers or from the peanut that's grown right here?
It is a tremendous percentage. It is.
I thought that was pretty amazing.
And I think Georgia's are one of our biggest peanut growing states, for sure. And I think we were in, Leslie's here, she can correct me, but I think we were in one of the heaviest peanut counties and the heaviest peanut states. We were in peanut heaven down there, but we had boiled peanuts and got to eat those while we were doing our podcast. So it was straight. I mean, literally, you can't get them much fresher than that.
That's what's up right there. All right. So for this part here, normally this bowl would be, like I said, would be firm. For me, putting it back inside the freezer for about 15 minutes to kind of firm up. So your handling of it will be normally a little bit easier, right? So just bear with me. This is done just for demo purpose, so you can see the process. But basically here, I have coating chocolate. So you can get this once again right next to the Ghirardelli chocolate chips. You can just purchase the Ghirardelli coating chocolate. And what's nice about this is that, so this saves you the work of having to do what I would have to do inside the kitchen by that tempering process. And that's where we try to get, the beta crystals inside the actual cocoa butter from the chocolate to line up in this kind of alignment. That's what we mean by tempering. So that requires melting chocolate to a certain temperature. So normally with like milk and white chocolate, you're gonna heat it to about 45 degrees Celsius. You would then have to cool it down to 27 degrees Celsius. Then that working temperature or in temper would be right around 29 to 30 degrees Celsius.
All right, can you
go up to 50 degrees? Go ahead.
Can you convert all those to Fahrenheit for some of us who think in Fahrenheit terms of Fahrenheit, Dwayne? Ballpark.
See, that's I will get back with you on those Fahrenheit measurements.
So Google, everybody listening,
Celsius.
Google that. I know 100 is boiling and 0 is freezing, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
So
we can kind of figure that out. So halfway to boiling is just south of halfway is 45.
Yeah, I think, you know what? Hold on, Mr. Andy. I should be able to tell you exactly. Give me 1 second here. Let me step out of frame for 1 moment.
I'll keep everybody entertained. I'm sure my old college roommate who has joined us with his daughter tonight could probably do that conversion in his head. So Adam, if you're listening out there, just chime in.
So for instance, for that milk chocolate, it'd be up to 113 Fahrenheit. Down to 80.6 Fahrenheit. And then that working temperature would be right around between 85 and 89 Fahrenheit.
85 and 89. There's old Adam White. Look at Adam White. If y'all, I'm going to, hold on, Adam, do that one more time. I'm going to pin you for a second. And so everybody can see what you got there. I think it's looking really good.
I guess it's a good sign that it's not running out of the pan.
Yeah, right? I think that means it's setting up. I think that means you did it right. Good job.
Is that the fudge that he just showed?
Yep, that's it.
Nice, awesome. All right.
I know you can't see everybody, Dwayne, because you're We
Right,
need to
I'm
get
staring
you
at
a wall of
camera
monitors
lenses.
set up. Yeah.
All right. So from here, like I said, so this is that coating chocolate. Basically, what you want to do is normally, like I said, normally just be a little firmer. You just want to dump it in and just kind of use that chocolate to kind of coat it around. I like to use a fork because it allows the chocolate to kind of drip through, and just tap it on the side of your glass or container, whatever your bowl you're using. Like I say, mine's gonna droop a little bit because it's still a little warm. And then you would wipe off that excess. You would then just lay that ball down nice on that round spot, back onto that cold sheet tray, and that will begin to set in a matter of seconds. I would say 15, 30 seconds or so, you would find yourself with a nice hardened, glazed over kind of truffle ball. So once you get all your truffles actually dipped like that and they're firmed up, what I do is I use a little paper cone. It's kind of the writing tool of the pastry world, just made from parchment paper. You basically take a triangle, you take the long side, fold it towards the center, other side wrap around it, pull it tight till you get this nice point, just tuck in your sides. But it also can be used like a piping bag that you can buy off the shelf, like at Walmart, like the Wilton section, and just show a small end off that tip, and it's gonna do the same exact thing. This is more convenient. I would just do some fine definition if I wanted to, but it's all gonna work the same because it's really gonna just be like a drizzle that we're gonna do. Okay. So basically at that point, you'll just take a little bit of that extra chocolate you have left in your coating chocolate. All right. Just put enough inside your piping bag in order to, kind of to get through what you want in the process. However many you think you have, you may want to fill that up, or, once again, depending on how big, I'm only going to kind of just go over this one here. It won't require that much. So in this case, I'm going to just pinch this down like a pencil. I have my little scissors here. Just kind of cut myself a little bit off, make sure that it's streaming out, which it is. And so at this point, if this was nice and firmed up, this was to the side of it. I try and come close to do it. And I would just simply just kind of let it drizzle and just kind of shake it back and forth over it. So that way it creates that actual texture that's on top. So at the end of the day, you'll get one of these guys.
Very nice. Hey, hold that. Will you hold that back up, Dwayne? Because
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
trying to switch to that camera as fast as you do it. So let's see. There it is. Look at that. That is actually quite pristine.
And then
there will be a test later to see if yours looks as good as Dwayne's.
And then it kind of gives you that gooey center from your center on the inside. You can see the little small definition of the little coating shell that's on the outside. That kind of gives it a little bit of a crunch whenever you bite into it. So I had these little fun clear containers for some events that I had did before. But I always think that it's nice to kind of package these in something that you can see through, even if it's cellophane or a little cellophane bag, right like that. But that way you can kind of display them, just tie a pretty ribbon or bow on top of that, and I think it makes the perfect gift.
Yeah, it really does look really well. And Barbie says, looks good, Adam. And Mariana said, Tracy on Facebook is asking, what kind of candy thermometer do you use? Do you have a favorite brand or model that you like?
So I'll be real with you, right? So this one here, literally you can find once again at Walmart or in Kroger in like the appliance section. I like the Taylor brand. Those tend to last the longest.
Say the name again.
Taylor, Taylor
Taylor brand.
Mm-hmm. So that's the one that I use. And like I said, it's simple. And then also, the cool thing about it is on the back, because as I was telling you, with certain things I like to use Fahrenheit and certain things use Celsius, because that's what I was training. It already has a little button, so then it'll convert it over for you to do the measurements for you there as well too. And then it beeps at you, like I said, by setting this here, it beeps at you. You can also use it as a timer too.
I got a question via text message from one of your favorites, Dwayne. Debbie asks, can the fudge recipe be doubled?
Absolutely can be. I scaled this down by my original recipe that I have, because I tend to make it in large batches. I scaled this recipe down by, I cut it down to a quarter, and then I cut that quarter into half. So the original recipe I have makes over 100 and something 1 by 1 inch square bites.
So that would be enough for,
131.
that'd be enough for our family at Thanksgiving. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that sounds like a plan. Anybody else? What other questions do we have? Peanut questions, pastry, presentation. You've got the former winner of Best Baker in America here, so you can ask him just about anything.
Dwayne, do you make deliveries in Oregon?
You know, I need to get on that delivery game. I don't do any shipping as of now, but that is the wonderful thing about, you know, confections were designed naturally to be shelf stable. So these things can sit, if they're done properly and sealed properly, they can sit up on your shelf, honestly, you know, at least for 2 months, right? So they also make the perfect to be able to, so you don't have to worry about them being knocked around. But I personally have not started shipping yet.
I've had your cooking because I'm Jeff's cousin,
Hello?
Tam.
You kind of broke up just a second. She just said she'd had your cooking because she's Jeff's cousin. Is that what you said?
Yep. Tammy, Kyle.
Oh, hello, Miss Tammy. How are you? It's
I'm
been a
good.
long time.
Yes. I miss you.
It's good to hear from you.
Did anybody else cook along that wants to show us how their progress went? I see somebody is in the kitchen there. Is that Maria? Are you cooking?
Yes, but my I just reached 243 and I'm going to mix it in for the fudge.
Oh, there you go.
Yay.
I'll
It
get
looks
back
like
with you.
okay. And Jen and Lucy are here. Jen and Lucy, how's yours coming? Oh, look, hold on. Y'all can unmute so you can tell us how it's coming. See if I can do that from here. Whoops, I think I just hit mute accidentally. Y'all try it again. Let's see. There we go. How's it going over there?
It's good. Our temperature wouldn't reach higher than 225 because of our stove. So we put it in, but it's turning out okay.
Gotcha. Sometimes electric stoves are really tricky on doing that kind of thing. And is that Sarah Tisdale? Sarah, are you cooking along?
Yes, if I can figure out how to unmute so my mom's here with me. Hi, Mom.
Oh, hey there.
And we tried to make the peanut butter fudge. Can you see it?
Yep, we can see it. It looks like it's
A little lumpy, but it looks pretty good.
I think it looks like it's gonna eat. It looks really, really good.
It smells good.
And that's a great start. It's always a first indicator.
And did the just kind of took a while for you to get it from the pot into the pan? Was it starting to set before you got it there? Was that where you found the issue?
Hey, say that one more time, Dwayne. Sarah, what was the issue you had? Can you repeat? You said it was a little lumpy.
I was just asking. She said it was a little. Just found that how to get it from the pot into her pan.
If you're talking to me, it's breaking up a little bit and I can't understand. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Sarah, go ahead and repeat what your issue was that you had.
Oh, it's just once I mixed in the peanut butter and the marshmallow cream and the salt, it stayed a little bit lumpy.
Okay, so in that case, if you I don't know if you were using a spatula like me, but if you You could also use a whisk to help to break it up next time. So maybe like a fork, and that may help out a little bit, you know, just a few extra blades in there kind of pushing it around.
Okay, good deal. Thanks.
You're
then
welcome.
then you've got a spatula. I mean, then you've got a whisk you can lick, which actually gets you a little more batter when you're in the testing process.
Even better. Brad would appreciate that.
That's it.
That is great. Anybody else cook along with us tonight that wants to speak up? It's been really fun to have all you guys join us and kind of celebrate peanut butter. This is a great time of year to get into the confections, because some of us are coming to your house later. So you got to be ready when family shows up. Adam, are you making progress? Oh, look at those. The truffles are looking really good.
Awesome.
I just want to say I had to turn my heat up really high on my electric stove. Is that right?
Yeah, a lot of times you have to increase the heat to get it to hold, because electric stoves cut on and then cut off. And so they
Okay.
don't keep that super high heat like a gas stove. When you turn it up, it stays up.
Okay, then it happened then when I turned it up. Thank
You're welcome.
Dwayne, are you going to do more of these shows?
I am always here to do any that the Eat Y'all team asks me to do. So if they come and ask me to do another one, I'll be more than happy to come back.
Well, we're always really, really glad to have Dwayne join us for anything really, but and especially if we get to taste it, Dwayne. I think that's where we failed on this one.
Yeah.
You're a little far to run up there and be your extra hands in the kitchen, but maybe
Right.
next time.
I should have shut down the taste just to you, so that when you had some there, you know, so you could talk about the taste while we was actually making the dish. Next time we know, ship ahead of time.
We're going to include that in the 16-page contract next time.
Yes, yes, sir.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you all for joining us. If you got any, wait, hold on. Mariana asked another question over here. Will the temperature continue to rise? Just take more time on the electric stove. Yes, I think that's what we kind of just affirmed. And Lisa Keys says, thank you for the recipe and your expertise. And Margaret says, this was great. So I echo that. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us and cooking along and for supporting the producers that make better ingredients that make your food tremendous. So thank you all for supporting us and Eat Y'all and the chef community. It's been, as y'all know, it's been a little bit of an exciting year, not always in the best way for some of the restaurant industry. So be sure and go out to eat and support them and tip well. They've worked really hard this year. So Maria says, thankful for you both. Jen and Lucy say, thank you so much. Miss Cindy says, thank you so much. We enjoyed watching. So thank you. And Gloria, I see that you've been here. It's good to have you again. And Mariana echoes, thanks to the Southern Peanut Growers. And y'all can go to the peanutbutterlovers.com website for a lot of great recipes and more information about the peanut process. Maria says, you're leaving me alone with all this. Oh, wow. So really, really good to see everybody. I want to thank you for coming, and be sure and go check out peanutbutterlovers.com. Dwayne, thank you. Thank Josh and the gang at Odette for helping host this remotely.
Absolutely. They was so gracious and allow me to do that here in the kitchen. And I'm thankful that you guys have reached out. It's always a pleasure. And I look forward to the next time.
All right. Sounds good. We'll see you
Thanks, Dwayne.
soon.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Bye, guys.